Welcome to the third episode of HotKnights. I'm Gavin.
I'm Agmundr.
And today we have Sir Brehon and Sir Togashi. So, why don't you go and tell the audience about yourselves a little bit, guys?
I'll go first because I'm the older knight. I started in the SCA in ASXXX in the Shire of Korsvog in the then Principality. Actually, technically, it wasn't even a Principality. Mm-hmm. It was just before Northshield became a Principality in the Mid-Realm. So that's in Fargo, North Dakota, mundanely. And started in the college group. And shortly after I started, Northshield became Principality. And then played for a lot of years, moved out to Bismarck, where we founded a shire because there was no group there. And then did a lot of traveling because we were in what we like to call extreme western Northshield, west of the Iron Wall, which is what we call I-5 or I-29, which is the eastern version of the western Northshield. But there's about 300 miles of Northshield west of there. And got knighted in 2017. Actually, I was put on vigil. Sir Ichiro was fighting in a crown, and I was in his entourage, and so I was actually put on vigil when I came in to herald him in. And then Ichiro was put on vigil immediately afterwards. And then we actually chose to have our knightings happen at the same event, on Northshield 12th night. So we started at about the same time in the SCA. We were vigiled at the same event, and we were knighted at the same event. So we call ourselves twins.
We are twins.
So moved out to Ontier in 2018 for work, living in the barony of Glamere, and have been out here for over 6 years now. And I love not shoveling snow.
Our stories are pretty similar. I started about the same time in Western Northshield, which was not a principality even at the time. I found the SCA through an accident. I had a nice big buffalo burger in the melee space that the SCA group in Minot had set up at the state fair. And a couple of guys came over in full armor and were like, "Hey, you mind if we fight here instead of you eating?" And I was hooked. I spent most of my time up in Rudyville, which is Grand Forks, North Dakota. And from there ended up moving to Bismarck with Brehon, and we spent a lot of time sitting just like this in cars going to events together, and found out we were real good companions for each other, and we could do a lot of steel sharpening steel. And like he said, he went and heralded for me in the Crown Tournament I fought in, and they put him on vigil, and I was sticking my head through the door going, "That's amazing!" And then my knight was talking about him, and then called me in, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" And apparently everyone knew but me, as is always the case. And then shortly after Sir Brehon moved out here, I decided to come out to go to diving school, which was in Seattle. So I crashed at his place for a while, and then my lady got a job out here, and we said, why not? So we moved out here and been happy citizens of Ontier ever since.
So funny truth. So in Bismarck, Ichiro and I lived about a mile apart. Right. And so now we live about a mile apart. So we traveled 1,300 miles to live about the same distance apart.
A mile apart, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's fun.
All right. So, on to the hot wings.
Yes.
Our first hot wing today is done with the raspberry chipotle Tabasco sauce. As we all get to enjoy this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh boy!
You almost jumped up.
All right.
Thank you, crew.
Here we go.
No, I was getting the wrong one.
Oh, wait! Real quick, I forgot to bring. I brought some Northshield hot sauce. Keep that in line
A
here.
little dab of that.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, this is good.
This is really good.
It's really sweet. I like this.
I didn't have breakfast today. I'm eating the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all like this, right? That's my understanding.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be delicious no matter what you do.
Yeah,
This is
don't-
really good.
Don't worry your little Northshield heart. It's going to be just fine.
Papa.
So, what are the differences between a Northshield crown and an on-tier crown?
I'll just go first. We'll just do left to right on this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, generally about 80 to 90 people. Northshield crowns. Northshield is a much smaller kingdom, right? So paid membership in Northshield runs about 1,000 to 1,100 paid
Oh, wow.
members.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm a cartographer, I don't think I talked about that, but I'm interested in SCR cartography. I pulled the numbers in 2022 for on tier, and the 5 baronies, Glamir, Lotha, Dragonslayer, Madrona, and Wywood have the same paid membership as the Kingdom of Northshield. So a good sized Northshield crown list is probably 16 to 20, versus from what I've seen in my time in on tier is generally 80 to 100. So that is a major difference.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is that Northshield tends to have, they're not open lists. They're semi-open. You have to declare your intent to fight in Northshield. And also Northshield really likes fun formats for its crowns. So you'll have like best 2 out of 3 matched weapon styles, or no repeating weapons, or something like that. And it generally varies by monarch, and it's usually they'll pick something fun that they like. So they are. I won't say they're night and day difference, but the huge size of on tier crown lists versus the very small, almost more intimate Northshield lists are quite different.
No.
Just tell them about the crown list you came in second in, because that's kind of a very not unusual format for a Northshield crown.
Yeah, so the crown that I fought in, we had, I believe it was 18 combatants.
Yep.
And the format was, there was a list of weapon styles, and the lowest OP picks the first weapon style for both combatants, and it's matched. So if you picked sword and shield, you both went out with sword and shield. If you picked 2 weapon, you both did. And then the highest order of precedence picked the second match, and if there was a third match, the lowest OP picked.
I'm going to make a prediction. You picked a spear.
I picked polearm a lot,
Okay.
and then I also picked spear.
Yeah.
Except for one match to really mess with the guy, I did do sword and shield, but that was just to mess with the guy.
Fair enough. Follow-up question. This isn't even part of what we were going to do, but in a semi-open, or do you? And I'm trying to put this the right way. The semi-open list. Do you think that how's the prow level different? Is there a prow level difference between like an open list towards the end or a closed list towards the end?
So Northshield is closed the entire time. You have to do a letter of intent, right? And I think that, plus the fact that in Northshield, it's generally expected that monarchs are going to travel the entire width of the kingdom, right? And that's about 16 to 18 hours east-west, and probably about 14 hours north-south. So it's all crowns are a significant time and monetary commitment, but in Northshield, it's a really big commitment. They figure $10,000 to $15,000 for a reign, and you're hitting 2 to 4 weekends a month for a year.
Yeah.
And so I would say, again, my best measure is myself, but when I came out here prow-wise, I figured I was a mid-level prow knight. I felt like I was about the same here. So that's, about my best measure.
Okay.
Although then being a polearm knight, I would say I was bringing like new tricks that people had not experienced here a lot. And so folks were, until they figured them out, I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I would definitely say that on tiers, open lists definitely encourage a lot of people to I'll just go for it, right? I may not stand a great chance, but I'm ready to win, so I'm going to go for it. And I feel that Northshield, on the other hand, fosters an attitude of, if you're not ready to win, please do not enter because there's a good chance you may.
Any given
It
Saturday.
may be your Saturday, and you might win.
I was told by the squire because I was like, I don't feel like beaking right now, and a good friend of mine tonight said, your job right now is to go out there and test the mettle of anybody who would be king. He's like, we know you're not going to win today, but like yeah, any given Saturday, but it'd be one hell of a Saturday.
Generally speaking, we refer to it as voting day.
Yeah.
Right. I like it. Honestly, I think it's a real, and maybe I'm jumping ahead questions here, but I love the dynamism of Ontier Crown List just because there's so many people and it's such a spectacle. And I think it's a lot of fun for everybody, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Wing two?
All right, what do we got?
All right, this time we have Bootsy's Serrano Lime.
Lime.
Yeah, the Serranos are pretty mild too, in my opinion. I'm not from Northshield area, but
Huh. You can really taste the lime in this one. It's fun.
What's good?
speaking of all those differences, let's go ahead and name a tradition, each one of you, that you would like to import to Ontier from Northshield.
Absolutely. So I would say I miss post revels. And for all y'all that don't know what a post revel is, in Northshield, again, it's a big travel kingdom. The east-west extent, northwest extent are gigantic. Most people travel on Sunday, right? So they're hitting the road early to get home. There is not generally an event on Sunday. So what happens is after the event shuts down, even if there's a feast, people gather, often just in a couple places, and have a party, which we call a post revel. And sometimes you're in garb, sometimes you're in mundanes, but the idea is to get together and just hang out. And I think Ontier kind of has that a little bit, but it's not as formalized, because I know my first 6 months here, we went to an event with my squire, and I'm like, so where's the post revel? And he looked like I asked him where his third tentacle was.
It's on his back.
Yeah, it's on his back. And so I found out later. I really love that, and I think it is a cool, casual SCA context. It's kind of like hanging out and having beers with friends who you play with in the
Right.
SCA. I miss that because it's sort of an extra level of
Yeah, we kind of
familiarity.
do something like that. Like after Ursumus, we'll go.
Yeah.
Everybody generally goes to the Mexican restaurant. And
Right.
We'll all hang out.
Yeah.
You know, have margaritas and Mexican food and stuff. But it's not. It's definitely not a
thing. No, it's not a thing.
It's like everybody goes, "Hey, we're going to Mexico. Hey, what's up?" You know.
Yeah. I think for my part, I think the big thing I would like to bring is the out of kingdom travel. I realize Ontier is an enormous kingdom with a huge amount of people, but it surprises me the number of people that go, I went to a out of kingdom event one time, or not at all even. And Northshield has a big thing of, well, since it's 20 hours to travel across Northshield, it doesn't matter if we travel 20 hours to go to Gulf Wars.
Right.
Or let's round up a bunch of people and go down to Lily's. It'll be fun. And I think getting outside of your home kingdom and getting the broader SCA experience is so fun. It's so exciting. There's so many people to meet, so many things to do, and you don't know what you don't know. And until you show up, there's so much that you can find out there.
Wing three.
Wing 3.
All right.
Wing 3 sauce is the black truffle hot sauce.
Ooh. And I'm a big truffle guy, so this
And
is
a
mine.
big fan of
Alright.
it.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah.
I'm a fan too now.
This is what His Highness was like. Absolutely not. This is not.
Oh, he hates truffles, right?
Mm,
I watched it. That's the bomb. That's the wrong word.
So, speaking of tradition, if you could inform one tradition from Ontier to Northshield, which one would it be?
The one that struck me the most, although Ontier has a lot of really cool stuff, the one that really struck me was the Collar of Steel. That is such a cool, just epic Ontier thing. And I remember the first time I did it, and it was it just blew me away. Because in Northshield, smaller kingdom, smaller population, piers go up in square fealty. They actually do it successively too, so that's, you know, a difference. But like, it's just, I don't know, it really hits home the atmosphere of the crown. Yeah, huge fan of that.
I think I'm going to piggyback off that answer too, and say there's a certain something about the atmosphere to the way On Tier conducts its pageantry. There's so many banners and so much heraldry and so many exciting little traditions that On Tier puts on everything that really make you feel immersed, and that there's a history here, and that there's something going on that makes you feel part of a big community and participate in that kind of stuff. So I have a good answer.
Can I take his answer? We can share. We can share.
Twins!
Yeah.
All right, now on to our fourth wing. Now we've gone to the Smoke Up Your Kilt. This is a homemade sauce that I was given by Gerlach.
Right, excellent. Let's try this.
It is
I really smell smokiness.
You can definitely taste the smoke.
It's not overpowering though. This is good.
so. Lemir's seen a significant increase in their fight practice since you showed up. Can you name 3 things that you did, or that you think other variants can do to help with this?
Good question. So I will give some credit to my squires, Master Alistair and Sigmund, who, while during COVID, we were like trying to figure out how to like stay active. And so once we got vaccinated, we were having a private practice, right, off of SCA books. And, you know, I just kind of did the standard thing I had always done, which is, right, you just go there and you just free play until you're tired, and then you go home.
Yeah.
And Alistair and Sigmund were like, you know, I feel like we need something more to make these more valuable. And so between the two of them, they came up with things that I've incorporated into the Lemire practice, and I think thankfully have been perpetuated forward. And one is, we start with a lesson plan. Right? We emphasize that the practices are about learning. Practices are not about winning. Right? No one wins practice. So it's useful. I mean, I find it helpful for me, but also I think emphasizing that learning from the beginning makes it a lot more approachable for newer fighters. They have an easier time coming in and picking up stuff rather than the way that we probably all learned, which is you show up in practice and you just get beat around until you start figuring things out on your own. It's very kind of Darwinian.
Or you don't.
Or you don't. And so we do that, and I think that's really good. It's also something, as a sort of a subset of that, we have, we encourage different people to teach, right? So a lot of times, knights, being the most experienced fighters, are the ones teaching at practice. But we also, you know, some squire has a cool shot that they're throwing. We'll say, hey, come out and teach us tonight how you throw that shot. I've also found it really helpful to, you know, take newer fighters that are, you know, having a hard time explaining something and have them teach it, because at least for me, I've also found like explaining something to someone else usually makes me understand it better, because it's especially something I do really well. It's so automatic, I don't really think about it. So that teaching thing I really like, and then something that we also did because of my squires would be called the circle of truth at the end. And so we all gather up at the end of practice in a circle. Fencers, armored fighters, people that have armored up that day, people that haven't. We even encourage observers who haven't necessarily don't fight, but they've been watching the practice, and we ask them to give some feedback. And it can be funny feedback, it can be serious feedback, it can be constructive criticism. But the idea is one, to train everybody to observe the fighting so they're not just thinking about themselves, but two, also to make it a place where people feel free to give feedback and not make it a bad thing. So it's like, hey, Ichiro, he doesn't do this, but you're missing that arm shot. I feel like I hit you like 6 times. I think your armor's moving while I'm swinging, and so it's soaking the shot and making that acceptable. It seems to really kind of, it closes in the thing. It also kind of really enhances the fighter community. So I think those two things are big. And then the last one I would say is having practices at the same place, the same time, and have a predictable sort of deliverable for the practices. People tend to build their schedules around predictable stuff, and I know you guys in Guapa have just changed over to a Friday practice to try to get that predictability back. I think that's super key. So I talked about 20 minutes. Let's see if Ichiro can dovetail.
All right, I'm gonna dovetail right
Do
into
it.
that one, and I think a big part of it is strong communication. When we go on and let everyone know, hey, this coming Wednesday, our practice is going to focus on how small fighters fight tall fighters, or basics of footwork. We can get people excited to go to that, and then they have a reason to show up, and that's part of communication. And then actual communication at the practice while things are going down. We give anyone who feels they have something to communicate the space and time they need to talk with people. We encourage that during the fighting, in between rounds, whatever needs to happen. And so if you don't know what you're looking at, it does look like a lot of people standing around and talking instead of fighting. But I think that communication is really even more important than the fighting at the practice, because that's how you learn, that's where you get the feedback that you need to improve, and that's how you build a community. And that's probably my number 2 part, is building a community, getting people who know each other, who feel comfortable with each other, and you can turn that into so many positive things on and off the field. And like when we went to Autumn War and sent the Bavarians out, and with very little war training, very little mass melee training, they turned into a great unit because they knew one another, they knew how to communicate, and they were very cohesive.
And they were talking.
Yes.
About blows, like they were making sure that, hey, that was a good shot, or no.
Yep. And I think my third thing is just constant encouragement. We have such a great group at our fighter practice that are always excited to be doing something and to be learning something, and the attitude that gets fostered is just everybody's lifting everybody up, everybody's pushing everybody forward and encouraging an even greater appreciation for everything that's happening around them. And it's so much great positive energy that you can't lose out when you have a format like that.
Can I add another one that occurred to me?
Your show.
It's our show. So one of the things during COVID, Alistair and I were looking at, like, how do we grow? Because again, like pre-COVID, Glimmer practices were like 2 people. It was Alistair and I, right? And so they were pretty small. And so we were like, well, other people have obviously had big practices before. How do you accomplish that? And so I did some research, he did some research, and I found a lot of really good explanations, usually super dupes or severely charismatic humans, who would go and they would just make a practice huge by sheer force of will, right? They're like, I'm buying armor, I'm dragging 40 people to events, they're putting just through sweat and resources, making those practices dynamic. And it was a recurrent theme. You see that a lot. What never seemed to be talked about is like what happens when that super charismatic individual, when they find something else to do, right? And so what I was like, well, like my assumption is, because I've seen this before, the charismatic individual moves on and the practice smalls, right? Because they're the one that's kind of growing it. And so something I've been trying to do is I stepped down as Marshal and stepped up as Seneschal, was to find, replacements, right? So Michael, your squire, he stepped up as Marshal of Glimmer, and then another really good squire, Ian, unbelt Ian. And so making it, that sort of military thing of finding your own replacement and like ensuring that there's continuity and not just like, hey, I'm not the Marshal anymore, I'm not going to show up. I felt like that's, I mean, TBD, right? Because we're only about 6 months into new Marshalls, but I'm really hopeful that we can find the secret sauce to maintaining that level, right? Like finding a good, sustainable, high level.
Yeah. All right. This one, it's to show fun, it's the one in the black hood there.
Oh.
The Reaper.
Oh.
It's not Carolina Reaper, it's just the Reaper, it's the brand. But I often feel this is generally where the corner starts.
We start turning into the danger zone.
The fighter went down to Georgia, he was looking for his souls.
Oh, there's the bitterness.
So you got a costume party to go to. Your garb isn't an option. What's your
Alright. I got this one.
You go first? Thank
Alright.
you.
So I've done some cosplay in the past. The easy one for me, because it's all hanging on the same hook in my closet. I've made a Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Penal Legion trooper, and I have the whole kit for it. You know, I got my little orange jumpsuit with prison logos on it. I got my my Type N Nerf las gun. So that I've got a couple of those I can just pull out, get ready to go.
I'm gonna just say werewolf. I like werewolves.
werewolves?
Werewolves.
Werewolves,
Yeah. I don't like sparkly vampires. I like werewolves.
Finish my winger.
It's getting into the old papa. It's spicy.
Let's go there.
This is not when His Majesty was regretting decisions.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's also when I start regretting decisions too. But
Right.
here we are. We keep making this decision, and I don't know that makes us any smarter.
Perhaps our brains are broken.
I get hit in the head a lot.
So this one is vampire repellent.
Oh,
Lots of garlic.
Garlic.
I like it a lot.
Oh yeah, that's.
that one's better.
I like the garlic on this one.
Once again, it's one of those technically hotter things, but I think the flavor kind of bears, bears eating it. Woo. Now, this one is a fun question. Name one thing you want to learn about the SCA, not heavy fighting related.
Ooh, I got this.
I mean, other than like, okay, if you wanted to do fire arts, that could be art, right? So like,
So I do cheese. I make cheese in the SCA. I basically have 3 superpowers in the SCA: violence, cartography, and cheese. And what I'm interested in, because cheese is very much an art and a science, right?
Yeah.
There's, you can make a lot of different cheeses. I've been making cheeses for, 15 years. And, I've made brie, I've made cheddars and all that. And, you can force cheeses to get, cheeses in the old world were generally a reflection of the soil, the water, and the air in that area, right? Like the microorganisms that grew there gave you the cheese, right? You didn't force it; it just naturally happened.
Right.
And so one of the things I've been interested in trying is making essentially a native Southwest Washington cheese variety, right? So just leave it out and see what you get. Now, again, sort of tying the cartography. So Olympia, Washington, and Paris, France have about the same climate. And so the cheeses that do well in Paris, France do well in Olympia. And so I've done brie there because brie is actually a variety of France. And I was reading about how they had taken the microorganisms that make brie, and they had started with the wild variety, which is toxic, you can't eat. And they put that microorganism on an agarose plate, which is a growth medium, and they ran it through 10 generations. And on the 10th generation, it was the edible variety of brie that you can eat, buy in the store, right? So I'm like, maybe I could do the same thing and start with wild microorganisms, probably successfully grow it, and then end up with a native cheese. So That is one of my projects.
Just mutates just to the spot of.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I don't know. Maybe it'll make. I mean, maybe it'll make it toxic and horrible, or maybe it'll be good. I don't know. That'll be
It's
the
like
fun.
another cheese.
That's right. If it's black mold, is bad on cheese. Just so you know, spots and black mold. Avoid cheese with that on it.
That's fair.
Well, I let my lips recover.
Yeah.
It's best to keep your lips away from
I
I got big lips.
Yeah. I've been doing a bunch of 3D printing lately, and part of that is I keep getting projects from people to 3D print them some stamps, right, for fabric stamping.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of been doing the, all right, here's your thing. Thanks, that was no big deal for me, but now I'm kind of interested. Like, I want to see these things get used. I want to test this out. So I've kind of been getting the urge to do a little bit of like some banner making.
If you don't see my wife behind the camera, I'd say like,
Oh.
she does all the stamping, so she wants to get
All right.
all that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll talk after this. It'll be great. That's kind of my itch I want to scratch lately.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. This is Aloha from Hell. Which is
I hope there's pineapple.
it's a smoked pineapple.
Oh,
Yeah, I love.
that doesn't sound dangerous at all, does it?
It doesn't. Michael, would you like a little?
I don't want to drive that.
Oh, okay.
Mmm. Mmm.
I taste the pineapple.
It starts promising. Oh, there it goes.
It's hidden.
Yeah.
So what I want to know from you guys is why you guys like pole arms so much, and why? And the second part of that question is why is it wrong?
I believe you're mistaken.
So how big is your battery on your camera? Because we may have to take a couple hours on here. So I'll tell you. One, I win a lot
wait
of
till I
fights.
get going.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna segue for you, and then you can alley-oop it.
All right.
One, I win a lot of fights with polearm, and I enjoy that.
Winning's nice.
Winning is great. Also, pro tip: you can rest on a polearm and fight it when you're not swinging it. It's a lazy person stick.
It is.
It also is a utility weapon. It's a sword. You can use it as a shield. You can knock shields over with it. And you don't break them as often as you do swords, actually. And you don't have to put like weird like aluminum or plastic on it. So that's why I love polearm. Why it's wrong is because I win lots of fights with it. And I think other people don't enjoy that as much. But it is the one true weapon style, which I can't take credit for. That's Duke Tom of Northshield, which I hope you guys do this thing with him at some point, because I think he'd be good at this. Yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I gotta say I love polearm for the challenge. It takes a little bit of mental reorientation to get into the mindset where polearm can be an effective weapon in SCA. There are definitely disadvantages just based on the way the SCA rules format work and the way shields work and stuff. But all of those can be overcome.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where you're doing some really, really fun, like high technique shots. And you're doing some really challenging attacks and combos. It's a constant effort to be aware of your targeting and your footwork and your movement. And I feel it really it clicks up the difficulty a notch, but it also clicks up my mental reward, just that one extra notch. And then, like Brehon said too, it's great if you're feeling lazy. It's a glorious weapon to just wander around and be lazy with, and you still look amazing when you reach out and just pop someone and then wander off.
So and then I'm going to segue because
All right.
we can't talk enough about polearm. So Ichiro and I are twins in many ways, many ways. And we both love polearm, but we actually love different elements of polearm. Now, in my opinion, there's 3 schools of polearm. There's the traditional style, which I think is mine, which is the percussive swing side, right? You're hitting laterally. Basically, it's a long sword. Then there is the thrust heavy style, which is Ichiro's, which I think he's adapted from his Marine training, and also,
Well, I actually stole it from a World War One rifle bayonet manual.
Exactly.
With those super long, like the super long Mausers and like the 16-inch bayonets they have in those things. So it's pretty much that.
so it's all thrust, and then there's the what I call grapple, which is legal SCA grapple, where you're getting in and you're basically tying around your opponent by basically tying them up a lot with the polearm. And so I love thug stick polearm. I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy knocking people around legally in the game, and especially in melee. I love like a 6-foot polearm in melee. You can't really dance with the 9-foot pikes. And you can't really stand on the front line with the shield, but what you can do, which is something that onto your benefits from, is you can be a mid-level sergeant, sit in the back, call plays, and then when charges come in, you can basically boot over the top of the shield wall and just wreck people's lives. And also you can float corners a lot and do really good at like countering, like trying to roll your line. And then you can also do the thing where you do the horizontal polearm behind the shield wall to help receive a charge. I find it to be actually a really useful weapon style in melee for that fact. It's often a gap. You usually often have a lot of swords and shields and a lot of knights with pikes, and I find being in the middle is actually very useful. I don't get a ton of kills. Usually my voice is sword and my arm is, but it's very effective at winning melee.
I think for me, I do a lot of thrusting game with polearm. So I'm basically out there fighting with a 6-foot 2-handed rapier, and it challenges me and challenges my opponents to find those teeny tiny openings in their guard that they don't know they have. Like a lot of right-handed fighters have an opening on their right cheek. It's only about maybe 2 or 3 inches, but it's small enough that they don't notice it most of the time, and you're not going to put a sword in there usually.
Right.
But I can put the end of a polearm in there, and that requires a lot of thought, careful setup, and when opponents start realizing that and they start tightening up their defense and getting a better game against that, then you go, all right, congratulations, you defeated the level 1 technique, let's step it up a notch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we start hour 2 of polearm, right? That's what we're doing now, right?
To be continued.
Yeah.
Well, you're not their majesty, so I don't have to ask permission to hit you with this. But now we have reached the bomb, gentlemen.
Oh God!
So,
It's like hate and goat.
Goat will be welcome.
All right, here we go.
There's the pain.
Already?
No, just I can. It's like you can hear the train coming in the distance.
so while you guys appreciate that,
This is
we're going to
over.
get into the controversial questions.
Oh,
So, what are your views on the new archery peerage?
can I do this one?
I mean, I'm gonna do it too, but you go first if you want while I'm fighting this thing. If I'm brave enough to
I
do a
thought
second
you
bite.
meant you do.
Yeah. We'll do another bite while you do
All right.
that.
So, I love it, but I really think that the FCA should have a recognition of greatness in any potential area that people want to delve into, and I think we should have a path peerage open to anybody. Archery seems like a really simple one to go. Yeah, there's definable metrics that we can do for this that are going to get. This is getting hot now.
It's a bitterness.
Yeah,
This is
the
terrible.
flavor's not hitting right over.
No.
It is.
It's just the burn on the end.
Just diesel.
But I will say I think we're rapidly reaching to the point where
Pull that. There you go.
just a little.
Bit.
I think we need to decide to include
Oh,
an omnibus peerage. pretty soon, or we're just going to have 57 separate peerages that are just. It's hard to get an identity and a sense of belonging in that many different.
Maybe you thought courts were long before.
Right. That's part of it is from a practical measure too.
Okay. And there's more chocolate chips and none of that.
All
So-
Can I get some of those?
Yeah. Churros, I actually kind of agree with the churro on this one, surprisingly. I think I wasn't in it at the time, but I think we missed the boat in not incorporating the mods into the chivalry. I think it made a lot more sense as a broader martial peerage. And I think where we are now reflects that choice. And you know, Sir Richard, who was around in like AS-7, I think, has said, and I've heard it from other folks, is that it would have been easier if we started off with like Knight of the Belt, Knight of the Rapier, Knight of the Laurel, right? I think it would have been easier to start that way, and now we're running into, like Ichiro mentioned, we're kind of chasing diminishing returns. Like, this new peerage is cool. I think it's a great idea. I want everybody to get recognition, but I can think of one area that right now a lot of folks don't get recognition. But it is a thing. There's like non-historical arts and science, right? There's a lot of folks that are doing really cool SCA-themed arts and science, and there isn't a path to peerage for that.
You need to tap that brow, Brehon.
Woo! It's just sweats and tears. And I think that that's an area where I think the current peerage is just forestalling that doom.
Yeah.
Rather than addressing it head on, which is my preference, is I would rather just
I
say
hate that stuff. I'm just saying it's
so gross.
It's
Bug
the
spray.
bird is consistent and long.
Go away.
I didn't like the taste, and that's kind of that's really turning it down.
Bug spray.
I like the burn though. We got a lot of going on over here.
It's we're getting better than the first time we had. Like, I physically wanted to run away. I
Do
was like,
not speak for 2 minutes.
Oh. I like how you saved the black keys for the last hard questions too. That's good.
oh.
The suffering.
Right?
All right, let's go for the next one.
All right.
Santa's Little Stinger.
Ah.
This one has scorpion peppers and bourbon.
Scorpion peppers.
It's really good.
But
Yeah, I heard the but.
all right, have your taste good. Then here's the train.
So another one of those situations where technically on the scale that the bomb is lower.
Yeah.
This. But this, you don't hit with the same kind of
No.
anger. It's a hate.
No, it just starts with bitterness, and then this one is actually got flavor, and then you can kind of hear like, is that spicy?
I like the flavor on this
Oh
one.
yeah, it's real
It's
good.
got that nice caramelly notes.
Oh,
Yeah, the flavor's great, and the heat's starting to come up. I like that. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. So
you guys should offer this up as like a sinus treatment, honestly.
woo, clean up.
So, how do you guys feel about the East Kingdom's variants to do the dispensation to do a 2025 rapier program?
I'll go first on this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I think it's a good idea, actually, in terms of I'm a big fan of spreading the burden and the wealth of leadership. You know, having seen how much of a commitment of time and resources it is to serve in a crown, and how much of a toll it takes on royals when they do it. You know, I think it's actually a really good thing, and I don't think it's going to hurt anything, right? I don't think it's going to harm the SCA in any way, but I do think it is not going to address, I think, one of the key, I don't know, schisms is too strong of a term, but one of the key disagreements I think fundamentally is going on in the SCA right now. I think there are a certain subset of folks, and it's hard to tell their proportion, that fundamentally don't like kind of like a feudal royalist metagame, which is what we have, right? And I think adding rapier crown, which is cool, I think it'll be fun. it might be challenging in terms of like the audience for calibration, right? Because it's just harder to tell what a good shot is in rapier if you're watching. But I think those folks that fundamentally don't want a game where we pick our leadership based upon a martial art are going to like this outcome any better. And I'll even go further at the risk of being a jerk and saying, you know, someone's always going to be in charge and someone's always not going to be in charge. And I think no matter what system we pick in the SCA, there's going to be people that don't get to be in charge. And I think some folks just don't like that fundamentally. They don't think it's egalitarian enough. And I think I don't know of a system that can fix that, right? Like even in the real world, jerks can be in charge, right? It doesn't seem to matter if they're swinging a stick better externally. So I'm in favor of it, but I feel like we need to, as a society, fundamentally ask ourselves, like, are we a medieval group that has obviously ahistorical ways of picking our leadership because it's not historically accurate, or do we want to be the Lions Club and have something totally different? My preference is medieval, but I feel like that's a question that needs to be addressed as a society. There you go.
I'm 100% behind this one, but I will agree there are definitely limitations to it. I think it's great to allow others to have their chance to shine. I think that the rapier community has demonstrated over and over again throughout the years that they have a very good sense of community and a solid system to their fighting. So there's no issues there. I agree with Brehon. I think the issue is that you've gone from people that are upset because people that swing sticks are in charge. You will now have people that are upset because people that poke people with metal sticks are in charge. I don't know how you could create an A&S competition crown. I don't know how you could create a service-based crown. I don't.
I would thought it would just be too subjective.
Right. And that is one advantage to a martial-based crown. It's objective. You can debate the results. You can say, oh well, this guy was shrugging some shots, or maybe that one should have been good. But there is a winner and a loser, and that'll work out great if you can only have one winner at the end of the day. When you look at the demographics that went into setting this thing up, the people of the East were overwhelmingly in favor of it, and the Crown is in favor of it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the end. They've made their decision. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. The fallout from it could be, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the SCA. Let's keep doing it. Or they look at it and go, this was a disaster. Let's never do that again.
Right.
But it's a one-time test for now. So let it go. It'll pan out one way or the other.
I really agree with you guys about the idea that somebody's gonna be mad about it if it ends up, if we don't do something that's democratic or something like that, like
lottery.
Yeah, but then I know that I've spent all my time in the SCA hearing people say the words, tired of the politics of the SCA. And I'm like, man, if you made that a voted-in crown,
oh my goodness.
could you imagine?
That'd be horrible.
I mean, I've even thought when we, on road trips, which Ichiro and I were on the way up, that was a lot of theorizing and stem-winding conversations, was like, how could you make it the most egalitarian? And the most egalitarian I can think of would be lottery, right? Pay your membership, you get a chance to win the lottery in your kingdom. Now, again, that's more fair, although you would get people that are probably not wanting or able to do it. But also, then you're denying people that don't have the money, right? Like, a lot of folks in the SCA don't have a ton of money, so are you denying them because they can't afford to reign and travel?
I mean, we already kind of make that distinction anyways. You have to be a member in order to...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other problem is that if you have a lottery, there's still going to be jerks.
Always jerks.
And
Jerks
then-
is the one constant.
What you miss out on when you do it like, and we would give, at least if you base it off of like some of the main activities, the lore, the whatever,
Yeah.
you're at least probably going to get somebody who's been around in the SCA for an amount of time, and at least understands the work.
It's a bit of a sorting thing, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think the risk of having an absolutely non-confrontational crown, and by that I mean it's not even an ANS competition, it's not a service competition or whatever. It's just a lottery or a vote. The risk is running into people that, for whatever reason, whether they feel slighted or upset, or they just don't want to, whatever, they woke up on the wrong side, that feel like they're going to have to burn the place to the ground. And I feel like crown tournaments and rate your crown and all that are showcasing people that love the game enough to be there and put in the effort to train and put in the background effort and the will to win that, and that is a bit of a filter. It's not the best filter to pick good monarchs, to pick good leaders, but it's going to pick people that have been in the game a while, and that's kind of a survivor bias to loving the game.
In other news, I just wiped my nose with a napkin with a bunch of hot sauce
Oh,
with
no.
face on it, so that's an experience. I'm gonna let my
Woo!
Coaster, go!
I've been treating this
So
as
we
the dirty
have,
hands. I'm just not touching
We
it.
have reached the last one, which is
Yay.
pure Carolina Reaper, the hottest of the sauces.
Oh dear.
traditionally
This is the
the
last,
last
dab.
dab. If you guys ever watched that other show,
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Bring it around.
So go ahead. Top here.
I'll trust you.
Pop. Oh, that's a thing.
That's a choice.
Oh dear, he's pouring a lot out. Oh,
There's
No,
nothing
no,
coming out
this
yet.
is
It's just
really,
thick.
this is a very thick
there you go.
sauce.
It's melted the glass.
Because
That's a big one.
It's
Alright.
just
Oh my
it's
God.
just puree.
Oh,
So
dear.
You know what? Here you go. Lug me up, my friend. I'm gonna let you do this.
We trust them. They seem like nice guys. Okay. Okay.
Hey, you made the
All right, brother.
I've got my living will. It should be fine.
All right.
Isn't it?
I mean, we already went in, but cheers to the rest of you.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Cheers, brother.
brother.
Tastes like nail polish.
Cheers.
I'm about to die.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're packing.
You know, these are the ones that were like, there's the slow. You're like, oh, that's no fine, and then you're like, I think I heard a voice. Is that a
Once again, I'd eat this any day over the.
Oh, yeah.
I know that someday the bomb makers are going to see me back out there like this and want to like give us a cease and desist, but
Oh, there it is.
holy fuck.
There it is.
So, what is your next goal in the SCA? In your SCA career?
Finish this swing and survive. No, there's more than that.
Hold on. Let me take it off.
Slide that into this.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I think it.
So
I think the sauce has kind of wiped my memory a little bit.
I can see how that would cook your brain.
Just throw it on the table.
So I'm coming back. I'm coming back from an injury right now, and next week I finally got some appointments to start getting this sorted out. So my goal is to start getting into some of these really great tournaments that Ontario has. Some of the just absolutely legendary tournaments that Ontario has, and be able to equip myself well in those. I think things like Ursulmes, Storm God, and that kind of thing. Those sound so exciting.
You want some ketchup for this, brother? Some Northshield hot sauce? You want that? Oh, okay.
There you go.
I would say I would like to tackle with Lumir, because I'm the seneschal currently, is get it to a sustainable level. So you kind of mentioned it with the fighter practices. And as a cartographer, I've noticed this too, his population is very flashy, goes up and down. I would like to figure out a way to figure out what your optimal sustainable level is, like based upon the demographics of your home region for your group. And like, you know, you've got 3 military bases and a college, man, you could probably be a barony or a principality. I would like to be able to figure out where the sweet spot is for like membership numbers, and so that you're not doing this all the time, right? I would like to figure out what a good sustainable level is. I've been kind of working on it for years since I was a cartographer in Northshield, but I find that a really interesting topic and one that I'm hopeful, because I think, you know, it's interesting to me intellectually, but also it has that really hurts. It also I think we get a lot of wasted effort when we're flashy, right? Like we put a lot of effort into growing something, but we do it in a way that's not sustainable, and then people get dispirited when things drop back down because you basically kind of peak too high. That's something that I've been wanting to try to figure out, and I've been kind of figuring out the edges of it for a lot of years. Oh, wow.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Eating these delicious
so good.
sauces.
That was good.
I just love these.
It's good.
I love you.
The camera's yours. Go ahead and give the people anything that you want to know about yourself, what's going on, what you want to do, something you want to promote.
Oh man. Now you're gonna hinge on our Northwest sensibilities and get us talking about ourselves or something.
Best thing you can do in the SCA is to find someone and be the archetype of whatever you are. So if you're a knight, be a good knight, right? Be the knight that they tell stories about 20 years from now. Like that was the archetype. That was the person that made me want to stay. You want to be someone's origin story in a good way. Like his knight is my grand knight. And so how I got into the SCA, I was going to college at North Dakota State University in Fargo, and they had a skills warehouse, right? So like underwater basket weaving and judo and whatever. They had a medieval broadsword class being offered, and this is before I even knew about the SCA, obviously. And so my buddy saw it, and he's like, Mike, you should do this. And so I signed up for it, right? It was like $20. And I show up, and here's this guy in like beautiful Anglo-Saxon armor and a helmet and all this stuff. And he's like, hey, you're the only one to sign up for the class. So he's like, we have practices twice a week, and they're free. So here's your $20 back. Just show up. We'll armor you up. And I got this group of friends that, like, you know, I moved out here. Within a month, I had people I was watching movies with and hanging out with outside the SCA. I've got a lifelong friend that I've known for 30 freaking years, right? Like, that guy, Tara, Dave Horvath, gave me that entry, right? He was that. He was just a squire at the time, but he's, Duke now. He became that origin story. Like, that's a good person. That's someone that I would like to be like when I grow up. And I would just say y'all should do the same thing for people to the degree you can, because you'd be surprised how far your legacy will go when you're that origin story.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna say pretty much the same thing.
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna say always remember your word fame precedes you. Make sure that you have a worthy word fame. Don't be the person who your friends have to apologize for when they need someone else.
I was all that one guy.
We all know somebody like that.
Not all knights are that way. Don't be that.
But instead be the friend that your friends are eager to introduce someone else to. Right? Be the person that welcomes and embraces and builds more joy for everyone else.
You just drink it.
I'm just gonna. kind of like sunscreen, really.
We got milk and frozen treats. For
Oh my God! Thank you.
That's the most Midwest thing I've ever seen.
I Northshield sunscreen, guys. It's ranch. Just saying. We let the secret out.
All right.
So, real quick before we do that, because you guys are both in Glamir, any Glamirian events that are coming up that everybody should know about?
Yeah. So I mean, my squire is doing a event he calls Fields of Gold, and it's coming up in sometime in 2025, and it is going to be a oh my God, it's going to be a melee tournament event. Lots of pomp, lots of circumstance banners. It's not on the calendar yet. They're still finding a site, but it's probably going to be about the time that Mayfair would happen this spring. So, highly recommend. We've also got Yule and Lyceum and all that. Those are great events, and I think our feast is already sold out. But I want to say that'll be a really cool event. The other one, I'm just going to take the privilege. We, in honor of Sir Morgan, who passed away about 4 months ago, and Sir Richard, who's not dead, thank God, he
Check his pulse.
suggested.
No, he's okay.
He reminded me of some of the spirit of the SCA in the days of yore, and he inspired in me, like, we're going to do a give back event. We've been financially doing pretty well in the barony. We're going to subsidize an event, and we're going to call it It's Only a Garden Party event. And the idea is to recapture some of those really awesome early day things and not take ourselves too seriously. We may even have a recreation garb early SCA contest.
And we've invited the hobbits and elves.
We have.
I could wear my first garb. Which is
Yes! First garb!
Just a kilt that I hand pleated out of some like mixed linen wool thing stuff going on. It's just a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off.
Yes.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
It's only a garden party, so come in sometime next year. The idea is to recapture the spirit of it.
Yep. And just to remind everyone, I think we said this already, but
Rose and Thorn. Gosh,
Yes.
darn it. I lost points. Guys, Rose and Thorn is next week. That's our really awesome gender minority fighting event. All fighters are welcome, of course, but it's a really cool, gets a lot of fighters out there and encourages the growth of our hobby and our sport.
And we'll try really hard to get this out before then. If not, it happens every year. So
It's a thing. This is our third year.
it's an annual thing. It's going to keep coming back. It gets better every year. Let's do it. I think we covered it. I just want to say, Glamir fighter practices are. Our regularity is one of the things we want to punch, and that's Wednesdays at Garfield Elementary, 6 p.m. Always going to be there.
outro house.
Well, this is the end of it. I want to go ahead and thank our amazing production crew.
Angry Harpy Productions.
Angry Harpy Productions. I'd also like to say thank you to our guests and the Parkway Tavern here in beautiful Tacoma, Washington, in the barony of Bluff-on-Nor.
Skull.
Skull.
Cheers.
Cheers.
If you like this and want to see it continue to grow, please subscribe to the channel. Also, like and share the video. And follow us on Facebook and Discord. Links in the description. If you'd like to further support us and the channel, please consider donating to our Ko-fi Fund. Again, link is in the description.